Whakalopalahi atu kia matolua si Happy Whahi Tapuhe Wanghau Niue or Happy Niue Language Week.
We celebrate together with our Niue community as they also mark 50 years of self-governance. Let's see what's on the show.
Secretary-General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, joins us ahead of CHOGM.
How some Pacific workers are at risk while adjusting to life in Australia.
And the new Caledonian town choosing unity over division.
C'est pour ça, même si on se tape un peu dessus, mais voilà, nous on est toujours ensemble.
But first, logging is Solomon Islands' biggest export.
In fact, logging is a huge earner for many Pacific economies, but done without care, it can also wreak havoc on the environment and communities.
Chris and Rita Almanuleong brings you this report with camera work by Mana Levo.
Logging. Here in Solomon Islands, it's our lifeblood. The industry makes up the vast majority of the country's export income, and the foreign companies selling the logs now employ the most Solomon Islanders outside the public service. But its impact is complicated. At current rates, the country's own government estimates no natural forests will remain by 2036. And the consequences are more than just environmental. So, how is logging reshaping Solomon Islands? We are traveling to Makira, a province which has been logged extensively.
We've left Kirakira and are now here at the village of Arohane. This village itself has seen logging for almost a decade.
A lot of residents have seen the village transform, including Paul, who runs the local Catholic church.
Paul.
I'm nice. I'm looking for building church from fella. Another some family so building more houses block kata. Also looking to him assisting for water supply.
But the changes haven't all been positive.
No good looking nice. Too much dispute. Rawa, the community. No participation in the community. I'm very poor. Especially with the young people, youths. Yeah. But as looking come in, so changes come in. So what the young boys got involved with drinking.
Different complete.
Salome's also seen the impact of large foreign companies on her small village. Traditional owners can license land for logging, and companies pay royalties for their use. But Salome says locals are at a disadvantage negotiating terms of use.
Kata promise, or some kata help them school, or help them church, help them community for building up community, housing scheme, I got doing. But all that, I'm not come looking celebrate. Nothing happened.
There are environmental consequences too.
At the same time, logging him no community. Arohane was a beautiful place, yeah. And okata go silo fishing and all that. Okata using big water.
Studies show logging increases clay and silt in the water column, affecting the natural habitat.
Same after logging him come in, yeah. No much fishing no lot there. Because say what the fish start for go down, I think.
We have traveled all the way here to the nearest log pond to see firsthand what it's like inside the logging camps. Okay, morning late to Fala. How night Fala? And you enjoy Makablila here?
Oh, so sad was Seleno. Me bara, so me happy because me man me stay normal home, so me no sabe hole in time we find them Selen.
While he's able to make a living, Patrick's not satisfied with everything.
Sad lo payment, dilen too much. Kata putin mo Selen no kame.
Alongside payment, another concern well known to most Solomon Islanders is gender equality. Most foreign workers in the industry are male. Multiple advocacy groups have noted how cultural and economic factors can create a power imbalance between local women and foreign workers. And relationships between the two are common, like for Jenny, who met her partner Johnny when he was working nearby. One problem often identified is workers having children with local women, then leaving.
I'm 6 months to blame. Then him go holiday. Him just come back no man last year no man. Him come back him 2 years old. Him go or him stay long time.
But not everyone's like Jenny.
Stuck out some sister from me or something. What a garam or baby or same too, but what possible kita go finish.
A UN report last year found some women are even sold to foreign workers for bride price and are vulnerable to violence and coercion. Angeline has worked at several logging camps over nearly a decade and has seen many similar situations.
Women stay with the beginning this time where the school students just form one no more. So me val nara sa te se o ka sa fani o te se o ta marit lo coffee and noodle no more we are no anything o ka sa making.
She says many of the relationships come out of financial necessity.
We are o ka like maritim o ketaya. Sele no more.
The company which employs Angeline and the others, King Solomon Development Limited, has denied any wrongdoing, saying it has policies to deal with any issues of payment, and it has development consent from the Solomon Islands Director of Environment for its operations. The Solomon Islands Forestry Department says it's drafting a new bill, broadening regulations to protect the beneficial interest of the indigenous people. It also says it's revised the logging code of practice to minimize environmental impacts. The department didn't note any initiatives targeted at protecting women associated with the industry. But there's some parts of Makira and across the country who have decided it's not worth the money. Mato is a community resisting logging on the vast majority of their traditional land.
Yeah, good to see you this morning.
Yeah.
Time looking him come in here. Hey, him love main challenge, yeah. He was like one time, licensee director him come. Hey, how? Yeah. What try for go through what all man but me fall already educate them what all man, yeah. No listen to anyone.
They've set aside a small portion of land for commercial use, but that's all they'll allow.
You may say looking him one for something where him create them and promote them no more disrespect inside community.
Paul says they're saving the rest of their land for conservation.
No matter conservation, him need them patient. Let us wait. One day, Baba, you may harvest them or reap him. When him love conservation, Baba himself help him. Yeah. Never mind what they can sell, but me first do something long. Me no look in anyone him at once. With me fall.
To Samoa now, where the 27th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, also known as CHOGM, is just days away. It's the first time a Pacific nation is hosting. King Charles will be there along with representatives from all 56 Commonwealth countries, and thousands of visitors will descend on Upolu, including our team here at the Pacific. But what do leaders aim to achieve, and is Samoa ready? To break it all down, we are joined by the Commonwealth Secretary-General. Warm Pacific greetings, Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, KC. Thank you for joining our show.
Oh, it's an absolute privilege and pleasure because I'm getting ready to leave this afternoon to get on those planes and come to Samoa.
Now, we've been speaking to locals on the ground who are very excited to host all 56 Commonwealth nations. How are preparations going, and is Samoa ready?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been to Samoa to look at the preparations myself, and I got the impression that every single household and every single person in Samoa is part of the team. and they're welcoming, and we understand there's going to be fantastic music and dancing. But the most important thing, I think, going to Samoa ourselves, because people who have not been there, but they don't always understand the vulnerability. And I think that when the 56 countries, that's 1/3 of the world, come to Samoa, they will see the complexity of the challenge, which actually is necessary if you're going to preserve the beauty.
We know in Samoa, cooperation on climate change will be a huge focus, especially ahead of COP29. The Disaster Resilience Hub will be launched. Countries will be looking at ways to access the Finance Hub. There's also the Commonwealth Trade Review and the Commonwealth Youth Council. Now, there's all these multi-million-dollar initiatives, but for a regular young person in a village across the Pacific, how are the CHOGM outcomes important for them?
It's important because 60% of our Commonwealth is under the age of 30. So they are the majority. And if you think about it, we are the first generation to suffer the aberrant consequences of climate change, but we're the last generation to do anything about it. So these are pivotally important. I mean, I've been to the Pacific on a number of occasions, and it's been heartbreaking to speak to our young people in the small island states who've said to me, other people don't understand. This is our culture. This is our land. This is our history. We've been on these islands for thousands of years, and we are facing the existential threat today. So all the issues we've been talking about aren't somebody else's reality for tomorrow. This is the reality of our young people today. And if you see what our young people have done in all of their endeavours, and certainly our Commonwealth Youth Ministers meeting, it's been amazing. And I am so proud of them because they are absolutely magnificent.
There are questions in some circles about the relevance of the Commonwealth in the 21st century. What do you think the role of the Commonwealth is today?
When we started, we said, the question was asked, what is the value of the Commonwealth? What does it give? And so one of the things we did straight away is to say, okay, how much do we trade? Are we a trading bloc? Well, we're not a classic trading bloc, but we do have a trading advantage because it's 21% cheaper, easier, faster, better to trade with a fellow Commonwealth member than a non-Commonwealth member. Intra-Commonwealth trade has reached a record high. There is a confidence that I trust you and you trust me. So this is concrete, absolute, provable advantage. We want resilient democratic institutions. We want a resilient environment. We want resilient economies, and we want resilient societies. And we together are building them, which is what really, really is amazing, actually.
Now, there's a growing conversation around the world about the injustices of colonisation, especially in places like the Pacific. Has the Commonwealth done enough in addressing these?
I think the Commonwealth, if you think about everything we've done in the last 75 years, it has been to redress the inequalities that there's been. I'm very proud of the fact that it was the Commonwealth who fought against apartheid in South Africa. If you then look at climate change, 1989, it was the Commonwealth who said existential threat. So the Commonwealth's values are conjoined. And so I'm really confident that our leaders are able to talk about anything, to face anything. And to date, they have always been able to come together for the benefit of all of us, where no one says you're too big to matter, you're too small to matter. And so I think it's a very important moment as we go to Samoa, historic and important moment. And I'm proud that Samoa will be in the chair because the Pacific knows how to do a Talanoa dialogue.
Now, Secretary General, I'm not sure if you've seen the viral video of King Charles Siva Samoa or Samoan dance, and I'm just checking if you've got your dance moves ready for when you touch down in Samoa. You know, I'm just giving you a heads up because we love our dancing.
Well, you know, I am truly Caribbean. If you're Samoan, if you're Fijian, if you come from the Pacific, if you come from the Commonwealth, we dance. So I don't know whether my dance moves will be any good, but I'll have them ready.
That's all we have time for, Secretary General. Safe travels to Samoa, and malo lava for your time.
Thank you, and I hope I will see you there. And we always make time for ABC, so let's see what we can do.
When Ni Vanuatu man Moken Mautungtung drowned while working on a farm in New South Wales earlier this year, it left his family with many unanswered questions. Moken, like thousands of others, became disengaged from the Pacific Labour Mobility Scheme, and experts say there's a lack of cultural support to help workers adjust to life in Australia. Hugo Hodge brings us the story.
New Year's Day is often a day of celebration and hope. But for Epa Steve Mautungtung, 2024 started with tragedy.
We were engaging in some activities with the families around in Port Vila, and that's where I received phone calls when I was driving.
Epa's younger brother Moken was living in Australia working on a farm in northern New South Wales.
We encourage each other because he's my younger brother, so he needs a lot of support.
Epa had a lot to look forward to. Moken was coming home soon.
We were preparing to go to the Highlands, knowing that it's our last conversation during that time. When I arrived at the house and I checked the messenger, I couldn't believe that it's my brother here. It's an unexpected incident.
On the 1st of January, emergency services were called to a property near Corinda following reports of a male who had gone missing in a storage dam. The body of a 31-year-old man was pulled from the dam. The circumstances of his death are now under investigation by Safe Work New South Wales. As a young man, Moken was a promising footballer playing for the national youth team. He started a family, but he had no qualifications and finding a job wasn't easy. Like many Pacific Islanders, Moken went to work in Australia. After originally signing up to the Pacific Labour Mobility Scheme in 2021, he soon dropped out and sought employment independently. In August, there were over 30,000 workers in the PALM scheme from 9 Pacific nations and Timor-Leste. It's helped Australian businesses fill vital worker shortages and has been life-changing for many. But there are persistent concerns about worker welfare. Death, illness and injury are also afflicting workers in the scheme. 84 workers have died in Australia over the last 4 years. 19 remain under investigation. There were almost 400 cases of injuries or illness reported by employers in the same period. Car accidents and medical problems are the leading killers, but advocates say there's an information gap which is leading to preventable death and injury.
A lot of them don't understand because most of the time when they land here in Australia, everything is given to them in English, whether it be the training, whether it be the education around the systems.
In Brisbane, lawyer Sinomia Taufau has worked on so many cases of seasonal workers getting themselves into danger, he's lost count.
As Islanders, we are taught to always respect our superiors. Whatever they say goes. We will always say yes just to avoid any issues with the employer.
When things do go horribly wrong, few palm workers have life or travel insurance, and absconded workers often lose their health insurance when they leave the scheme.
It's a massive, massive, massive issue.
In Moken Mautungtung's case, he did not take out insurance cover, but his employer, P&J Harrison Sons, paid to repatriate his body back to Vanuatu. Sources with knowledge of the events said Moken celebrated New Year's Eve the night before and was put to work on the public holiday when he went into the dam.
The manager or the owner of the farm, it has to have care over the employees.
P&J Harrison's sons told us it prioritises the safety of its employees. We're heading to Blackett in Western Sydney to visit Ni Vanuatu Australian, Valencia Paquete, who runs a boarding house for seasonal workers in distress.
Hi, nice to go.
This is my mother.
So nice to meet you.
Thousands of palm scheme workers have absconded from the scheme, escaping exploitation. And Miss Paquete is the first point of call for many.
So I've got mattresses. It's nothing fancy, but it's something that helps them get started.
And so how many people have you got staying here at the moment?
Right now, 5. A lot of them, they come in quite deflated, discouraged. It's a huge culture shock. They don't understand how hard it is to live in Australia.
When Moken Maltungtung died, Miss Paquete provided support to other seasonal workers on the farm.
His death was sad. It was really sad. And he could have said no, but he didn't. And I've always discouraged them from doing that because it puts their safety at risk.
Hi, welcome back to Awareness Time.
I've started making awareness videos to help them understand the way of life in Australia. I've gotten a lot of response. Yeah. I think the palm scheme is failing the Pacific Islanders big time. They need to be doing a lot more. It should be the government's responsibility. They should be going above and beyond for this.
The Australian government has announced a raft of reforms to improve the scheme, including adding more interpreters. But Ms Paquete says the government's welfare programs lack reach. I met a seasonal worker staying at Ms Paquete's house who didn't want to be identified. He's disengaged from the palm scheme and says he was desperate to leave.
I was really excited, like a lot of difference. It's not really what I expect to see. They don't give a shit or something. Like they just don't mind about anything you want to say to them about your welfare. Or
So if you have concerns about your welfare, do you feel like you can raise them with your employer, or did it feel like there was no one to talk to?
I feel like there's no one to talk to, yeah.
And without someone like Valencia, would you feel pretty helpless?
Oh, I feel pretty helpless, yeah. I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I'm just hopeless, yeah.
The minister overseeing the scheme said he's open to further changes.
We have seen, unfortunately, far too many abuses of the palm scheme. It is a concerning rise that we have seen in the number of Pacific workers disengaging from the program.
Back in Vanuatu, Epa and the Maltungtung family wait patiently to find out what happened to Moken.
Please pray for us that there will be justice.
Our reporting on the unrest in Kanaki, New Caledonia, has until now centred on the capital, Noumea, the place which has seen the most damage. But we recently travelled to one town outside the capital, where residents are using lessons from the past to try and map a different future. Burai, a picturesque rural town in south-central New Caledonia.
Parce qu'on est au carrefour de tout, du nord, du sud, de la côte est et de la côte ouest. On est vraiment aussi au carrefour culturel, ethnique. À Burai, il y a effectivement la plus grande communauté arabe de Nouvelle-Calédonie. On a 7 tribus, on a une population cosmopolite.
As well as indigenous Kanaks, many here are descended from prisoners from when the island was a French penal colony, known locally as the Caldoche.
Que dans nos cœurs, dans nos veines, dans nos relations au travail, dans nos relations sociales, dans nos familles, on est métissés.
Je suis né d'un père venant donc de l'administration pénitentiaire, condamné à 25 ans, arrivé en 1897 en Nouvelle-Calédonie, et d'une mère qui est issue aussi d'un père qui venait d'Algérie.
Like Mr. Aifa, many in Burai descend from Algerian dissidents convicted for rebelling against the French and sent here as punishment. And like many Caldoche, Jean-Pierre Aifa's father was given land nearby after he was freed.
Cette propriété paternelle, aujourd'hui, elle m'appartient. C'est-à-dire que j'ai là, je dirais, ma source de vie.
But that lifestyle hasn't always been a given. Rural areas saw some of the worst violence during the unrest in the 80s.
Je pense que la brousse ayant beaucoup plus subi en 84, on était peut-être plus prêts, notamment à résister à l'idée que le vivre ensemble n'existait plus.
As violence ramped up in Noumea earlier this year, local leaders here convened a meeting.
On s'est tous réveillés le matin en se disant on ne peut plus rester dans nos canapés et attendre que ça se passe. Il faut agir et on essaye Donc il y a quelque chose qui est né, un besoin aussi d'être ensemble et de se parler et de trouver des solutions.
David Keroch has been part of that group alongside others in the Kanak community.
Avec les caldoches du village, on se connaît par cœur. C'est pour ça, même si on se tape un peu dessus, mais voilà, nous on est toujours ensemble.
He says while Indigenous rights remain front of mind here, young people have a connection to their community and traditions, which differs from those causing unrest in the city.
Un peu ce que je voulais vous dire aussi, c'est que les jeunes aussi, il faut les écouter aussi. Parce que c'est des gens on ne les écoute pas. Les coutumiers, tout ça, ils ne les écoutent plus aussi. Ici, nous, on a laissé un temps de parole à nos jeunes dans des maisons communes qu'on a ici dans les tribus.
And for almost everyone, the French government's handling of the issue of independence and the inequality visible in Noumea has had a hand in where the territory finds itself today.
Moi, je suis prêt, à discuter avec n'importe quelle personne de l'État, y compris avec Emmanuel Macron, de leur dire qu'ils ont persisté dans l'erreur. L'erreur de n'avoir écouté tout simplement que la pauvreté. Les 50 000 personnes sous le seuil de la pauvreté, ils ne sont pas chez nous en brousse. Ils sont dans les milieux urbanisés.
For a place like Burai, that has seen in real time how things can turn around. They have one key message that they live by.
Profitons du chaos pour changer les choses, pour adapter les choses, pour améliorer les choses.
Burai, on a le vivre ensemble. Mais c'est pas où tu vois partout, il n'y a pas le vivre ensemble. Vraiment, on vit, les Kanaks avec les Blancs, on vit ensemble, moi. Mais aujourd'hui, ce que je demande, moi, je veux cette paix.
That's our show for this week, but next week we'll be bringing you the show from Apia, with all eyes on Samoa as it hosts the 27th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting.
Whakaawelahi for joining us. Nonofoa mo torokia.